Good evening and welcome. My name is Lord Hardthrasher, 1st Earl of Crucius, and I have been asked once again by the good people at Willie's Whiskies to discuss with you some interesting whiskey that I have recently tried. Now, being a man of considerable girth and a number of years, I have had the opportunity to try a lot of whiskey over my time, sadly most of which I've had to buy myself. My family are a bunch of backstabbing, money-grabbing bastards who couldn't give two hoots about me until I informed them of words like will, inheritance, and you may be cut out from, at which point they remember that they love me very, very much. To wit, it has recently been Christmas, and as a result, they have tried to give me offerings to appease my great rage. And you will notice on my right here, 2 bottles, one of which is considerably smaller than the other. Eustace, I'm looking at you. The smaller Eustace bottle is a Highland Park single malt 12-year-old. And jolly nice it is too. Eustace, you'll be pleased to know that despite the fact that you have given me a pathetically small sample, you have not been cut out of the will. The problem with a half bottle of whiskey is it's a little like going to a hotel bar, finding a nice young lady who is willing to accompany you upstairs, only for you to fall asleep moments after you cross the threshold. It's not without its charms, but it's not what one was quite hoping for. But the larger bottle here is a bottle of Highland Park's Viking Tribe. It's an interesting thing to have, and I do sometimes worry about the people at Highland Park. It's a distillery, for those that don't know, just outside Kirkwall on Orkney Islands. Well, actually, it's known as the mainland, which I assume is a little bit of island humour. Let me explain. If one was to drive 9.5 or 10 hours from London up to John O'Groats, the most northerly point in the mainland United Kingdom, one would still be 40 miles south of Kirkwall. Having got the ferry and actually landed on the mainland and reached the town of Kirkwall, one is considerably closer to Oslo than one is to London. And as a result, in the Middle Ages, a bunch of blonde-haired, big-armed idiots known as the Scandinavians turned up and declared themselves to be kings of the place. That led to about 2.5 centuries or so of raiding of most of northern Scotland and Britain, and has led an indelible mark on Orkney Island. Frankly, if you aren't one of the sheep farmers desperately clinging to this blasted rock in the middle of the North Sea, one is probably working for the distillery. And it is a somewhat unsurprising consequence of Danes plus time plus whiskey that they came up with the marketing brain fart, which meant that they labelled absolutely everything that they produce as Viking something. For example, one has Viking Soul, Viking Honor, Viking Tribe, Valhallfather, and probably Odin's Arse for all I know. They all have a propensity towards massive peaty flavours that will absolutely pillage your village and burn your church to the ground. This little number is 46%, and that's a slight improvement over the 40% that the standard Highland Park is, and whilst I'm a big fan of increasing the ABV wherever possible, it feels like a miserly increase. For those that don't know, a single malt, to be called a single malt, must have spent at least 3 years maturing in barrels. My suspicion is that this, which has no age label on it at all, is in fact 3 years and 1 day old. It is very much a juvenile, and it is pretty obvious when you start to try it. The standard and unwary drinker may look at the sample here and go, it is a reasonable colour, as you can probably see, it's a pleasing yellow. There's not much coming off it on the nose, it doesn't feel particularly violent until one makes the horrible mistake of actually trying to drink it, at which point it is a little like having one's mouth set on fire by a particularly salty peat bog. As it goes down, it continues to burn, and were I a fisherman living on an island in the middle of the lethal North Sea midwinter, I would probably be quite grateful. But I don't. I live in the south, and many years ago I swore not to rub deep heat into my nipples anymore, and as a result it is not an entirely pleasing experience. If one were to take a musical analogy, then the Highland Park 12-year-old is probably akin to Metallica's Black Album. It is a surprisingly sophisticated, well-rounded thing to have, and it is roundly hated by all heavy metal fans, whereas the Viking Tribe is a sort of thrash metal number played in clubs with a lot of leather and chains on display. And a little like those clubs, I don't exactly enjoy it, but I can't understand why I keep going back. I'm, in all honesty, not sure I can recommend the Viking Tribe when the far superior 12-year-old Viking Honor is about £5 less and doesn't require you to visit a psychiatrist about your daddy issues. All in all, I would give Viking Tribe a 3.5 out of 5. By all means sample it, but there are many other more worthwhile ways of spending your time. Have a very lovely evening, and I look forward to talking to you again all soon.